You read the title correctly. And I'm not talking about a little bit overpowered like those clickbait videos you see every now and then, teaching you how to get a girlfriend if you use this powerful strategy of taking deodorant. No, as good as that sounds, today I'm going to teach you how to get stupidly overpowered as a small nation. And what do I consider as stupidly overpowered? This. By 2023. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure you're already drooling over the screen at this point. But don't whip up your cock just yet. We are going to have to learn the setup first for this incredibly overpowered strategy. And I'm just telling you now, it's way too easy when considering the return you get. Like, huh? An 8-minute video and you'll have learned a strategy to dominate every single game as a small nation? No previous experience needed. This sounds like a scam. The core of this strategy relies on you having a small population and not many countries being interested in you, because while this setup is the best currently in the game, it's also the most vulnerable. You are just dead if you get attacked before the setup is complete. This means that this strategy basically only works for smaller nations, but it can also work on nations people forget exist and the big fat democracies, but it's less effective. So sorry, but this ain't working for countries like France and Germany. Let's go over the setup. To make this strategy as effective as possible, you're going to need 4 or more cities, but you can do without them. It's just going to take a lot more time, since the very first thing you're going to do upon joining is build 4 electronic factories. We're going to sell a lot of electronics later, so you need to keep an eye open for when the factories are done building. But meanwhile, while the factories are building, set your taxation to max, so we don't fall into debt when we buy gold and copper. Also, go click on the first research boxes in the research tab and look for a leader, a political leader. This is really important. The choice of leader in the beginning is crucial for the setup. If you don't see a chief judge that gives the modifier of corruption gain decrease, you might as well just leave and retry again. It's absolutely crucial that you get this modifier, since we're going to get a lot of policies that increases your corruption gain. And we don't really want corruption, because corruption equals bad. Unless you're the one getting paid, of course. Then it's good. I like money. Luckily, the chief judge is the only leader you have to restart until you actually get. The other leaders, like head of research, aren't that important in comparison. They give a little boost, but we can probably get them later down the line, when the pool of leaders change. It's more important that we get this policy, just based on the modifiers. Only recruit a chief judge for now, since we're now also going to get the Advance the Research Berea policy. And here comes something very interesting. Remove all your military units and set the military upkeep to 2 times. Oh, what's this? No upkeep and 50% extra military power gain? Pretty broken. We then also want to pick Maneuver Warfare and later down the line Grand Battle Plan to get another 1.25 times military power gain and 1.25 times military leader XP gain. You'll have to keep tabs on this and pick it when you have enough military power, since I am not gonna guide you on that. I also wouldn't recommend to switch doctrines later on, since Maneuver Warfare is just the best and tanks are just the best manpower cost wise, and it also doesn't spread your cheeks, so much so that war exhaustion can fill up your entire country. So that's good. By now, your electronic factories should almost be done building, so go and buy 8 copper and 8 gold just before it's finished constructing. And as soon as the buildings are done, you know, building, race to the trade tab and sell 5 electronics to as many countries as possible. Sell all your 64 electronics you get from the 4 factories. This is going to be the cornerstone of your economy. Don't worry if you don't manage to sell all 5 electronics to the big countries. A lot of countries accept 3 or 2 electronics, and micronations can accept 0.5 or something along those lines. After you've got a working economy, set taxation to the lowest possible for that sweet extra stability, and set all your economic policies to what I have on the screen. This here, the economic policies, is why the strategy is less effective for the big nations, because it's really expensive. Anyways, after that, get the underground labs policy. It's going to be hard for me to guide you on when you have enough research power to click on the next box in the research tree, but this strategy is just It's not that stressful at all, so you can pretty much easily check this pretty often. Here is, however, where your country of choice will differ in strategy. If you have more cities, build more electronic factories, enough to get you the Computer Advancement Act policy. And if you have even more cities, get more electronics and start selling. And once you've sold everything you can, start switching between developing and building infrastructure on your cities. You really only want the infrastructure for now, due to it increasing the electronic factory output. But since I'm too lazy to focus on a bar progressing like a snail, I'm choosing between both developing and building infrastructure. So I only have to check in from time to time and click on the one that isn't building. Also, if you have a super small population, just buy consumer goods from other players. It's pretty awesome how cheap you can get 25% stability for just one consumer good. And congratulations, you've now finished the first part of the setup. We're now going to wait until we have quantum computing or 250 political power to get an ideology. But if you see a good leader when the pool changes, like a head of research or political reformer, get them instead, since the ideology we're going to pick is just to increase our stability. And while you're waiting, just to find countries you want to invade, and on random micronations. They are going to be really helpful for quick money and stability. You can also sell more electronics to more AI nations. I mean, what else are you gonna do? And with that, the waiting begins. The waiting has ended. Now begins the second and most sexy part of the setup. Crazy numbers. If you've managed to get 250 political power, pick nationalism and declare on all the micronations you've justified on. And immediately peace out. For now, we just want the 1% extra stability for each declaration. After getting quantum, we want to get these 3 research boxes that increase political power gain. Namely this one, that further decreases corruption gain. And this is because we want the favor the political elite policy for that insane 40% political power gain and 50% political leader XP gain. And that exact policy is the one we're picking as soon as we get this research box. Don't worry about the corruption increase. We're going to get the reduced corruption research box in the economic tab after we're done getting the last political power increase, but also set your corruption decrease to max in the economic tab. Now you can also start building recruitment centers, infantry, and assigning a leader to train them during this time. And if you find some noteworthy political leaders, like General of the Army, that is aligned with your ideology, pick them. We are aiming to get fascism, but leaders are just more important at the moment. And also, as you'll see now, with the click on flexible governance, you should have around 10 political power gain. What the fuck? Now, you can also get the reduced corruption research box and save up enough political power for fascism. And with our insane amount of political power, you'll want to get all the policies shown on the screen. And you'll also want to get 7 political leaders. You can decide whichever one you want, but I recommend leaders that gives military modifiers, like General of the Army. And with that, the setup is pretty much complete. During this point, you can start building factories for tanks and consumer goods, and you can also start researching tank and infantry attack the nations you've justified on, and start building some good old tanks on the conquered lands. You can attack a superpower if you want, but I wouldn't recommend to do it immediately after the setup, unless you are impatient, like me. Just take your sweet time invading AI nations and building power. It should go by very quickly, due to the setup I've done. And yeah, the basic setup should be complete around 2023 or 2024. But it really only ends when you decide you're done camping and start expanding. You'll then want to reduce the economic policies, since it'll get really expensive. But yeah, that's the strategy. There are some things that can be improved upon, like getting the Isotope Research Act, by buying uranium from big nations, but that is pretty expensive, so you may or may not want to pick this policy. There are also many variables, like getting events that increase your research power, and you'll want to pick these 100% of the time. but that is highly dependent on luck. In conclusion, this strategy is just dumb, but it's also kind of boring, since most people leave before 2025. So only use this strategy if you plan on playing longer games. And if you do that, then yeah, you are just gonna destroy everyone. But that's it. Thank you for watching the video. Subscribe if you haven't already, and remember this, fellow Ron player. With great power comes great responsibility to kick some superpowers' ass.